Well, hello there.
Hello.
Did you say hello?
No, I said hello, but that's close enough.
You're him, aren't you? You're the Goblin King.
Ugh, what a weird movie. Today, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to talk about Labyrinth seals.
How are you enjoying my labyrinth?
It's a piece of cake.
First, let's discuss what a labyrinth seal even is. That is the two rings that you see on this muzzle device right here. Gives you 2 valleys and 3 peaks. You'll find this on the Surefire muzzle brake, the 4-prong, and the 3-prong. What does it do? I've heard so much talk about this. Well, it gives you a positive seal with the suppressor and does not allow any gas seepage from the seal between, again, the suppressor and the muzzle device. You're gonna say, why do you keep saying the words over and over? What does it mean? Well, you'll notice that on the Surefire War Comp that you do not have your Labyrinth seals. In place of them, you have 6 ports and this is the CTN, but on the CTN or the Surefire 3-prong, a focus on flash suppression. But what about the Surefire flash hider that's on all the Geisleys now? What's going on with that? Well, it's essentially a CTN minus the ports that the War Comp has, which does not give you any sort of upward pressure on the suppressor, like the War Comp does in contrast. What does that do for me? Why do I care? Nobody likes gas just popping up out of nowhere, places we don't expect it to. Or a really creepy guy coming into our bedroom in the middle of the night.
Well, love.
Surefire, when they made the 3-prong, the 4-prong, and the muzzle brake, put the Labyrinth seals in there to prevent any sort of pressure popping out of the back of the can, because when you put the Surefire suppressor on your rifle, this is how it goes on the muzzle device. There's a little indexing key, and then you ratchet it down. You'll see in the bottom corner here that it's not encapsulated like it is up here from about 7:30 all the way to noon, maybe 1 o'clock, but it's not quite as sealed down here, and you'll also see some of the scoring from where the gas escapes, which is fine. My can's okay, there's no issues. But if you want to eliminate your rail panels getting blown off like you've seen in my 11.5 video a couple times with me shooting it suppressed, or just the extra pressure from this portion of the suppressor, the way that you do that is with your Labyrinth seals. And again, you're only going to find them on 3 Surefire muzzle devices as of this date. So if I'm looking for the best shooting experience, which one do I get? Well, it depends. And in my other videos, I guess this caused confusion because people heard 10% of the argument and thought that I was making other determinations that never came out of my mouth. Not the first time that's happened. So for suppressor longevity, and for the purposes of this video, the best seal would be your Surefire muzzle brake. However, because the front of the muzzle brake has that sacrificial baffle design at the front, I don't know if it was intentional or not by Surefire, but the Surefire muzzle brake, the front of it is a sacrificial baffle, will send gas back into the system. Because this is creating additional pressure that the suppressor wouldn't be making by itself, or subsequently with any other muzzle device that Surefire makes. So you get the best seal, the best suppressor life, but your trade-offs are shooting it unsuppressed is belligerent on anything really, and you're going to get a little increased pressure back into the system. I think it's somewhere between 10 to 15%. Don't quote me, don't crucify me if the number's wrong, but there is an increase of back pressure into your system through the barrel and the gas system. With the Surefire 4-prong or the 3-prong, you'll notice that there's no gas bleed and there's no increase in back pressure that you would get from the Surefire muzzle brake. However, it is not necessarily the best for suppressor longevity. So you're still getting that cross or tri-force pressure into the back of the baffle versus the sacrificial baffle or even pressure that you would get from a CTN. So it's not the best for suppressor life. Again, I think the reduction is somewhere between high teens, low 20s. So we'll meet in the middle at 20%. Not official data, just what I've heard from people in the industry that have been testing guns, that they noticed a reduction in suppressor life from the use of 4-prongs, 3-prongs, and 3-prong war comps that they do not notice with the Surefire muzzle brake because, again, sacrificial baffle. So the 4-prong is going to be a nice smooth shooting experience, less pressure back into the weapon system, but again, about a 20% on average. Haven't tested it myself. From people who shoot way more than me that actually test guns, estimates on service life of your Surefire suppressor. Now these suppressors are very, 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 very rugged, and their service lives are well over what most people will shoot through them. We're talking 100,000 rounds on average, and people still shoot them after that. You'll get there with a Surefire muzzle brake. If you don't have the Surefire muzzle brake and you're using a 3-prong, a 4-prong, or a 3-prong war comp, then your service life might be somewhere around 70 to 80,000 rounds based on whatever you're shooting through it. At the end of the day, which muzzle device is best for me? Well, it all depends on what kind of build you're doing and what you're planning to do, how frequently you're going to be shooting suppressed, and all sorts of other factors. If you're not going to be running suppressed hardly ever, if at all, or sometimes, then a war comp will probably do you just fine. But the detractors for the war comp is no Labyrinth seal, so you're going to get a little bit of pressure coming out of the back of your can, and it might blow some rail panels off, or extra carbon on the front of the rail, all sorts of fun little stuff, but the suppressor's still going to work, and for the most part, you'll be fine as long as you're not shooting multiple cycles of full auto fire, 500 rounds a session, just beating the hell out of the rifle and the suppressor. I'm sure you'll be fine. If flash suppression is very important to you, then, and I'm hoping in the future I can do a test between a 3-prong, my 4-prong URGI, the CTN, and the actual Surefire flash hider. It's going to take a lot of lining up to do, but we're going to try to do that test. I have a 24-hour range around me, so I can go there to do it. It's just going to take the right camera equipment and the stars aligning. But if flash suppression is high on your list, then I would suggest either the 3-prong war comp or the 4-prong to give you those Labyrinth seals if you wanted that. So the 4-prong is going to be very, very good for flash suppression, and if you want a positive seal when you do shoot suppressed, let's say you shoot suppressed more than someone that has a 3-prong war comp, who's more concerned with flash suppression and recoil mitigation. The 4-prong I like more than the 3-prong because the 3-prong has that port direction. It's insane and incessant ring.
Man, that ring is so much
versus the 4-prong. The 4-prong doesn't push my gun anywhere, and it seems to suppress the flash once the sun starts to go down a little bit better. Some people might argue that. I don't know. I'll mess it out later. Maybe I'll put my foot in my mouth. But I like the 4-prong a lot. It does still ring, but it's much, much less than the 3-prong. The Surefire muzzle brake is really, really good if you're going to be shooting dedicated suppressed more often than not, and the suppressor's not coming off the gun that often, which is great for a short boy. However, for those of you that don't care about gas port sizes or properly springing your gun, you just slap something together that's a 10.5 with a carbine spring and a carbine buffer and say, this is how it should be, it's fine. That extra back pressure from the suppressor on the Surefire muzzle device going back into your gun might be the difference between a sheared bolt lug and not. unless you want to spring it properly by messing around with an A5 system or just stepping up and putting an H2 or H3 in there with a blue or red Sprinko spring to dial it properly so that it runs well. It's up to you. But if you're going to be running dedicated suppress, the Surefire muzzle brake is probably the direction I would push you in, although you're going to get a little bit more increased recoil impulse. I really do enjoy shooting the 4-prong on this RC2. However, this specific RC2 lives on this URGI, and I might take it off to run on this periodically, but this can will forever live on that gun because of what the 4-prong does to the back of the first baffle. I will be getting other suppressors in the future, and they will live on other rifles. You get where I'm going. I'm not going to sit here and tell you which muzzle device is best for you, your application, and what you're trying to do. There are a multitude of factors that I've discussed already, and personal preference is a big one. If you really prefer your war comp over the Surefire 4-prong or the Surefire muzzle brake, that is completely fine with me. I don't care. But scientifically, the best seal with your Labyrinth seal coupled with suppressor service life is the Surefire muzzle brake. If you want the best positive seal you can get and that's all you care about, Surefire muzzle brake, 4-prong or 3-prong. If you're not shooting suppress that often and you care more about flash mitigation and recoil mitigation, then the flash hider, CTN, or 3-prong war comp is going to do you just fine. I'm always going to advocate for the best performance in your rifle, be that the 4-prong for the positive seal and less stress on the weapon system, or your Surefire muzzle brake for suppressor longevity. Hopefully this answered a few of the questions I got and a couple of those people that got spicy with me in videos saying I said things I didn't. But it's the internet, so nothing makes sense here and the points don't matter. Thanks for watching. Take care out there.
You have 13 hours in which to solve the labyrinth before your baby brother becomes one of us forever.